Hey, welcome back. Okay, so let's start. We are going to build another web app, right? Here, what the code will be? Here the code was API. Here the code will be UI, right? User interface. Here, what we will do? So we have to write some HTML code, maybe JavaScript, and maybe CSS, and some backend code with C#, where it will connect to this particular code, right? This is nothing. If we are going and looking into the source of this particular page, do you see anywhere you see the call, the API call? No, that is how you can secure your backend, right? So it's just like whenever there is a button, let's look for button. Some button. Is there any button or submit? Submit? No. Okay. Let's check on the UI itself. Some conversion or something like that, right? On chains, maybe they have put on chains, right? In text box or drop down, there should be a on chains function, right? The event, whenever that will. Let's look for that on chains. No, so they have different way of dealing with that, right? So you can see div and what is the name itself? Let's check this one. Right, euro to dollar. See, all these text you see, it's not available in the HTML code, right? See, these are directly coming from your backend through the API. If you don't see this here directly, it's coming from the backend itself, right? So those are the things, and different way of secure your building your UI and building your whole ecosystem, right? But of course you can see these are the static text, right, available here. If you know about your some HTML, CSS, all these things, you must have done some of the R&Ds on HTML, CSS and all, and might have built some UI pages, right? I'm not sure like how much you are into those areas, but I'm just trying to make you understand like these are the things available, right? And like what are the DOM, okay, document object model, right? So that comes under the HTML, structure, format, all those things, right? And tags, CSS tag, JavaScript tag, all those things, right? You'll understand when you'll really build some sample web pages. Anyways, so going back to our use case, so what we are trying to build here. In this case, we are going to build one UI. So in that UI, there will be some HTML, there will be some JavaScript, maybe some CSS, and some code which will really call the backend API we have already developed, right? So this is one application. So this is the way how you should really architect your project or your application or your product, so that it will be independent of independent of constraints, right? So if you want to change some UI related stuff, you only change in this code. You are not touching even this code, right? If you want to change some logical change in your backend, you just change code in this project, not this project, right? So that it's isolation, project isolation, or the component isolation, right? So those are the architectural considerations you have to build. But for now, we are trying to build some components to deal with some deal with some kind of requirement, right? So now we'll build this. Why there is no connection to this? I didn't put any connection here. to storage. Why? Because we already have API which is already connected to the storage. Why should again put another connection to storage? Rather, we should connect to our web API, so that our UI will always connect to the backend API, and backend API will connect to our storage, right? Storage, maybe blob, right? So that's how it will be. So now let's go back to our our activity, and we'll do that. And I'll just quickly show you like what exactly we're trying to build here, right? So we are trying to build here the same again app service, that is a web app service, right? And there we are trying to build one build on top of the Windows. It's kind of same, but only two things different is connection string and the API URL, right? Other than that, everything are almost same, and will not have any connection to the database directly from the data store, directly from the web UI. Okay, that's what we are going to build. Let's open to our Azure portal. So here is our here is our the portal, and we have the resources we have already created. Let's go to our RG Smartechie right, resource group, and we'll see what are the resource visualizer, right? So under this resource, there are a lot of resources attached, right? So now what we have created, see, we have created this guy, the Smartechie API. So we have storage, this one, right? We have storage, this storage we have created, and now these are the applications we have built. So now see, we have three VMs, ideally, web apps running, which is connecting to this particular RG Smartechie group, right? It's connected here. So now here, if you see, we have the storage we have created for that, for our activity, right? So this is our thing. So if we go here, storage, let's go storage. Right. So here, what are the diagnosis and problem? So we don't have visualizer here. We are looking into the storage. Okay, anyways, so in storage we already have those things available, are blob and all, right? So I didn't change anything, neither I delete or something like that, right? We have uploaded two, we already have two, and let's see, go back to our web app, the web app API, gallery API, right? In that gallery API, so let's say like we are able to access that web API gallery, right? This is coming. Click. Yeah. So that is the other one. So if you try to say, access this one again, let's access. It's. We can confirm like it's still live, right? So now we are trying to access this, and we should be able to see two images listing, right? Here we are looking as a textual image name. We want to show it in graphical way, actual image we want to show. So that's what we are going to build now, right? So let's go build it. Okay, so when we build it, what we'll do, we'll go to our again, how did we build that, right? The other one, API one, the same way. We'll go to the marketplace, go to our favorite. We have already added that as favorite web app, right? So let's create a web app. We create a web app, right? And almost similar thing we have done, and we'll give this the Smartechie, right? This is what we are giving, and we'll give the web page name what? Smart Gallery Web. okay, or web or UI, whatever, right? UI, we can give that way. So now this is what code we are going to use, maybe .NET, right? And we are using the Windows, and by default it's selected East US for me. Leave it as is, and it's also selected for me some plan, okay, by default whatever I have already used. And then okay, then let's go review. Okay, I forgot one. Do you want to give the tag? We already have tag something, right? Session. What was the tag we have given? This, right? So, and review. This is not mandatory. I'm just giving for your sake of understanding and how we are using those, right? And create. So we'll try to create it and validation pass, and then create it. Once it will be ready, and then we'll able to deploy something. But while it's getting ready, let's go back to our code, right? So I'm going back to our code. In last class, we are dealing with the API, and we are trying to upload that, right? Let's switch back in the same repository, lab 1. We have another folder called open folder, right? Open folder called web. Okay, under this starter, we in our last class we are working with API, right? Now we have another called web, right? Open that. Okay, while opening this, let's see. Okay, this is ready, right? So this guys, let's go to the resource and see. This looks fine, right? And it's attached to RG Smartechie. Now things are looking good, right? And now we have a raw web API, web app created. Next thing is like what we are going to deploy into this. We can deploy API. We can deploy UI as well. As we already deployed the API in a different web portal, so here we are going to deploy UI, right? Let's go back to the code, and in this code, I'll just walk you through a little bit how it's really looks like. Okay, so whenever you are opening this, sometimes you might just see these two files, right? A folder file, the solution file. Just don't worry about that. Go to the Explorer. It's already get into the probably FSAF. So go to the Explorer, you'll see all those files, right? So now we'll go one by one, right? HTML. In this HTML, what exactly this guy try to do? Okay, so here there are a lot of things we have. Available here. There are a lot of tags, right? One is definitely the HTML tag. This is the parent tag for the whole page, right? And we have header tag. In the header, we are providing some length, height, all these things, and some CSS we are trying to connect to Bootstrap CSS, right? So automatically it will apply to through all the components we are using in the web page, right? And here is the class we have used, the CSS class. You must if you know the CSS, how to write a CSS file and CSS class. This is the class we are using for this body. So where we'll get this particular, what kind of the CSS it is? Go back to here. There is a .cs. The CSS. Where is the CSS file? We have. Okay, so we didn't use CSS. Okay, I forgot. So this one is the CSS, right? If you go to this file, you'll see all these things. Okay, it open in a different browser. I'm showing you in a right browser, right? So this one, this is the CSS we are using. Okay, referring. So we didn't write this. This is already available in one of the CSS library, right? That is the Bootstrap library, right? So if we do that, then we'll just go back and search this one, the class we are using here, right? You cannot find right away that thing, the full thing, right? Because there are multiple classes we have used in one. So you can always go with this guy. See, this is one class, right? In your code, this is one class, this is one class, this is one class. So these are the multiple classes we can apply into one, right? Or this one, right? There are two multiple classes also. Background dark. If you go background dark, see what exactly it's done. It's written like, okay, background color, this should be this, okay. And if inside that body, the body part, there is a link. A means link, right? Any link available, make that background something this color and focus it, right? All these things, if you understand the CSS, it's easier to understand. But this is a bigger, bigger CSS. It's coming from the library. So you can always decipher and check in, or you can write your own CSS. So we are not going to learn, how to write CSS in our classes. So I'm just, giving you some pointers, right? So now going back to our code. So in that code, we have written something. Just think of like this classes has some CSS, capability, and we are applying those. And under that body, we have, a navigation bar, okay, and also we have a div, right? Under that div, what we have a, card, right? Where it talks about like upload a new image. Okay, there is a text box. We can test like upload a image, where you can upload an image, and then there will be a button where you'll click and it will open a what modal window, right? How that how that happened? See, ASP for upload. You see that? This is the kind of controller, right? Upload controller. Whenever you use this controller, and whenever you click on that, it will open a modal window in your application where you can choose any file from your local file system, right? So that's how the controller is. And then these are the choose image. These are the text. This is the label. In the label we can write any text. You can use span as well, or whatever you want. As for you, how you are going to write. And there is a button. What kind of button it is? That button text is upload. There will be a button called upload, and the type of button will be the submit. Whenever it will be submit, what it will happen? The backend API will be called, right? We didn't use any API name here. How it will call? If you know how to write the web page in our CSS world, C# world, you must have one controller for that as well, right? So where if we go back to our CS file, C# file, then here we are dealing with those, right? Image URL, post and get, right? And we are trying to call those ideally API URL. See, what do you see here? You only see here like you are only calling to the web API web URL, not the storage. In our API application, what we used to do, we were providing the connection string and the blob, all these things, right? But here, what we are providing a URL connection to the backend API web app, right? So this is what it's doing. So that's where whenever our application will run, our web application will run, it will try to connect to the backend web API rather than the storage, right? This is how we are building. It's same kind of thing, right? Get. It will try to get all this, all the images available in our storage through the web API. It's trying to call the web API, right? Behind the scene. We have also post async, right? The post method, what it will do, whenever you try to click the upload button and select some file and click upload, then that file will go to the web API, and the web API we have functionality to load that particular image file into the storage, right? That's how it will be. So so that code we have written here, right? Correct. So so now let's go back to the app settings. In previous API application, what we had one parameter called storage connection string, right? But now there is no storage connection string argument. The environment variable is API URL. So we have to configure this API URL somewhere in our web application. Once it will be available, then we should able to connect to that, right? So then another is option.cs. So here, you are creating just a getter setter, the web itself, right? The namespace web, and you are creating options for that. The options is nothing more the options you are providing here. This variable getting access here. See, you have created with this particular variable, right? And for this, you are implementing getter and setter. You are not, you are not providing any definition, because by default it will get set, right? That's all. And this is web program. Now, as I was talking, right? How this guy will know, like when we'll submit the click the submit button or upload button, how it will try to get those images, right? Or call that behind the scene get method and post method, right? So this is where you are configuring your whole web application, right? So on the startup web builder startup, so you know how to build a web application in your .NET. Then it's easier to understand for you, right? So the configuration, and you're providing the configuration here. And when you are clicking add singleton, right? You know the singleton, right? If you if you have already an object of a particular class, you don't have to create again and again the same object. If the object is available, use that. If not available, create one. Okay, the singleton means that is what it is doing in the programming world, right? So, and then you are going to deal with something, some kind of internal function you are calling to deal with that configuration service. Okay, then you are configuring the whole web application. Then it's ready to run. Okay, correct. So these are the packages what you are doing. We are not going into that level. Okay. So these are the objects. Whenever you are building, its objects is getting created in the bin. All those your files are available for the .NET 8.0, right? So the most important is like what you are writing here, what you are going to access here. So that's it. See, whenever you will start your application, which page should load fast? The index page should load fast. Where is the index? So there must be a HTML class you must have written with this name. Okay, see, this is the name you have created with index.css, right? And accordingly index.css as well. C#, right? In the C# you are providing a slash index to redirect to this particular page, right? Okay, so this is the index page. Now our the functionality is very much simple, right? So what we have to do, we know, like we have to go to the CLI, execute some AG command, and then we'll upload that, right? So now what we have to do, so yeah, in our last class we have executed this command, right? So up to this the command is valid, right? We are going to use AG, okay, the Azure CLI, and we are going to upload, deal with one web app resource. What kind of command we are going to apply is the deployment, right? And what should be the source? Again, zip file. Do we have zip file? Yes, we have one zip file here, web.zip. And the resource group, we have created that web, the web app resource, the portal under this particular resource group. And what should be our SRC? SRC should be our web.zip. Web.zip, right? What is the name we have given? we have given this naming convention, but at the end, instead of API, we have given UI, right? And let's try to run it. Okay, so ideally, what we are going to expect whenever we'll run this particular endpoint of this particular web app. Okay, so it's trying to okay, it's finished. Okay, deployment success, right? Deployment success, right? Now let's go back to our portal. Whenever we'll see refresh, this is our UI, right? Refresh it. Okay, and how can we see like what's going on here? This is our URL, right? The default domain. Let's copy this, or you can go from here as well, browse, right? You can click here, browse, or you can copy this this particular URL and look for it, right? Let's go here if you want. Okay, what's going on? Can you tell me what happened? Yeah.
Connection is
not there. We didn't connection to what? Connection to our web API, right? Not the storage, correct? So now what we have missed here is this guy. Go back to our application. This guy we didn't configure. What we should configure? Let's API URL. Just keep in mind, right? API URL. But what should we connect? We should connect to close that. No worries. So we should go back and see our web smart gallery API, and we should copy this one. This one.
So it's a UI, right?
Yes. This is the API. No. What we are going to connect? See, if I go here, where we are going to refer? We are going to refer to our web API URL. Okay. Through, we are going to call the web API. The web API will behind the scene call to the storage. Okay. We have already done. So now our point is we are going to configure this guy API URL, right? So what should be that API URL? Should be the URL of endpoint of the web API, right? So that's why I went to Smart Gallery API, right? API, and I'm going to copy this. Again, I'm going back to our web UI, and where we should go? We should go to our settings, environment variable. Exactly same thing we have configured for our API when we have developed the API. So now we have to say add, and what was that API URL, right? And then we have to provide this one. Okay, so don't forget to add https:// because this is a secure one, right? We didn't open to the external world. So we are providing this one, right? So now we are going to apply this, again apply, again confirm, and 3 steps to add one. Okay, anyways, so now we have this particular one available. Now let's go back to anyway, we are already in the UI. So now we have configured that in our UI, right? What we have recently deployed. Now go to the overview. Again, we'll just sake of refresh it and then try to browse it. No, it's open in a different window. This one. What do you see? Remember, yesterday we have uploaded these two images, right? So it's by default showing this. Why? Whenever the page is getting loaded, automatically the get function is getting called. Let's go back to our code. I'll just walk you through quickly. Here, the get is by default. Okay, whenever it's trying to do this, get is by default it's getting called, so that it's getting listed all the images, right? And this one getting called, and it's trying to, yeah. So this is trying to list it out, right? And whenever it's listing in our, go back to our HTML page. In this HTML page, there is a display, okay, images. It's trying to iterate through all the list of URLs it's getting. Okay, I'll show you the URL, where URL, these two URL, right? It got these two URL in this particular call, in this here image list. How this image list got here depicted? From this one, the image list, right? Image list. So in this particular page, if you see image list, same image list variable, right? And it's trying to iterate through, loop through that particular list and try to show one by one image here. Okay, so the image tag, under the image tag, whenever you will provide any URL to a source SRC, it will show in the image tag, right? Exactly the same thing it's happening over here. It got two URLs and it will try to show two URLs as a image tag, right? Now let's check the post method. Okay, whenever you're trying to check post method, we have built this upload, right? As you say, this is the image text and the upload controller, right? This is the upload controller, right? So whenever you are clicking anywhere on this controller, you should able to get one control where you can able to select some file, right? Let's try to select some file from here. Okay, I'll try to select something called some file, right? And upload. Okay, look into this and what happened here. What happened here? When I am clicking this and browse what file I have uploaded, I don't see that. This is a bug in our code. Bug in the sense, like, not bug, but it's not showing that particular name, file name we have browsed in this text. In this text box it should show, right? Ideally. Otherwise you don't know what. But see, if I hover here, it's showing what is the image file, right? However, I was expecting at least it should show this particular file over here, file name over here. How you can do that? You can add another text file, a text box here. You can show that over, or you can show that particular name here. It's your task. If you do understand those HTMLs and all, try to do that. Okay, the simple question is like, how can we show whatever the page we have, file we have selected, it should show here, the name should show here instead of the tooltip, it should show directly here. Okay, now anyway, we have selected one file, we need to upload it. Let's click upload. See, the moment we will upload, immediately the got refreshed, right? The post method executed back, this post method executed, and then it went back and again get method executed by default whenever the page refresh. So it see all these three. If we go back to our storage, let's see if it's if that particular the new file we have uploaded is available in the storage or not, right? Go back to the storage, go back to our container and the images, and here we have uploaded one, right? So that's what we have uploaded just now, right? See what is the timing here, 31st 7:20 PM, right? So that's what the latest one. Now I'll show you what is the stack trace. Okay, stack trace in the call trace, right? How you debug this, what happened behind the scene. Right click, go back to your inspect, right? And click on the network. I'm going to the web application development class. So anyways, I just want to show how the post getting called. Okay, so see, there is nothing. Now we want to again upload one. Click here. Whenever I'm clicking here, upload, upload, there are a lot of things happening. So we didn't select anything, so it didn't do anything. Let's clear again. Browse something. We'll try to browse some other file, right? Okay, we have browsed. Till now, there is no call, no API call. The moment we'll click upload, the backend API will call. See, Smart Gallery UI, it's calling, and it called to the backend, Smartechie Cloud Storage, right? This is the backend call happened. See, what is the request behind the scene? Smartechie Gallery UI, this guy, right? What was the response? It got a response of this particular page, right? And this is what the request it went, right? How these are the this getting called. See, this image is getting called, this image getting called. These are the images, right? So these are the images getting called from here. See, the end of the day, where it's going, the call is going to the storage. Did we call to the storage? No. But behind the scene, whenever it's calling to the Smart Gallery API, so internally it's trying to call this one, right? And showing us, correct? The payload we are giving is the file name, right? This is the payload we have given, right? So those are the things, it's happening behind the scene whenever it's getting executed, right? So all these things, you can see those stack trace, what are the different calls happening behind the scene whenever you are dealing with this particular, API, right? So you can see from here, right? So, okay. So these are the, very, internals or debugging, how we can debug the web application and all. So I just wanted to show how this web app is getting called behind the scene, right? So these are the things, what it's happening. Now you see like, oh man, sir, there are very big, big images are showing here. I cannot see really all the images in my, in one page. What you can do, you can always, make the height and width of this image little bit smaller. Where you can do, you can go back and changes in the, do some changes in your HTML, and you are done with that, right? It's showing the actual image. Rather, you can provide some class, or maybe height, something, some pixel, or whatever, and width, right? And some pixel, right? So in this case, you can control your size of this in your web page. Okay, I'm not going to teach that HTML again. So okay, so those are the things, the basics of the HTML, basics of the web and all. Now, if you see, we are able to build a end-to-end application, web application, along with the storage, web API, backend backend application, front-end application, and storage application. That's where we usually call what is backend, what is front-end, and all these things, right? So in this case, if I say, whenever you are talking in the technical term, this particular thing is called backend in our engineering world. This word called front-end. Okay, and this is called, DB, or you can say database, right? Data storage layer. Right? So ideally, it goes in that way. This, 3-layer architecture. If you went through my one of the video available in the YouTube, so there is a architectural design pattern I discuss, right? So here you'll see this layer is UI layer, the front end layer. This is the code layer, API layer, right? This is the backend layer, and this is the database layer, right? Data. data access layer, you can say like data access layer, right? So they connected in between. So this is the modular way of building your application. Okay, so this is all in all what we wanted to build as for our as for our web application, end-to-end building end-to-end application. So that's where we wanted to do these two tasks. For our sake of understanding the end-to-end application, right? And on top of this, now we can play with your what port I should open, what port I shouldn't open, or how I can secure my application, how I can. So the more you can dig into those areas, the more you can build some of the more techniques on top of these particular applications, right? So now let's, for example, now this is one web application you have built, right? You want to build another web application, but you want to reuse this particular API, backend API. You can always do that. You can add more APIs to this backend. We have created yesterday, and always you can create another web application for a different purpose, right? That is another product for you, or something like that, right? So you can re-engineer a lot of things when you understand the fundamental of those internals, right? So those are we wanted to talk about, right? Okay, then thank you so much.